In this video, we will see the overall design of the second version we just had a short demo of. The new version uses two patterns that we saw last week, the command pattern and the bridge pattern. The command pattern is used to encapsulate operations that resulted in the creation of shapes for saving a drawing, retrieving drawing, and also used in new ways to manipulate the shapes, like deleting them or moving them, etc., or copy and paste. The bridge pattern we saw last week briefly to support multiple rendering technologies. We will see more details of it this week. Then you saw that we clicked a button to create a FX window. We clicked another button to create a swing window. But the way swing does copy paste or drag drop or render stuff on the screen is very different from JavaFX. So when we create a JavaFX window, we need objects that will do all of these things, that will support us with drag drop or copy paste or rendering, etc. And those objects will be different from the objects that we need for swing. So we are going to use a pattern called the abstract factory that will supply with a family of products. It will supply us with a family of, say, JavaFX products. And it can also supply us with a family of swing products. We also need to group objects and manipulate them like single objects. So you might want to combine or collect together a polygon, a line, a couple of labels, etc., and manipulate them together. Maybe delete all of them, or move them, or copy paste them, or drag drop them, etc., etc. For that, we need something else. To make things easier, we use what is called a composite pattern. We saw the command pattern previously. It supports the collection of all the operations that you do when you create a command, and you can execute that command. And some of the commands will allow you to undo them and also redo them. So this is the command class. It is abstract. Every command can be executed. Some of them can be undone. The return value will say whether it can be undone or not. Some of them can be redone. The return value will say whether it can be redone. We saw that the command class was used to create line commands, creating line objects, polygon objects, etc., etc. And in this new version, we also have command classes to do copy, paste, delete, group, and ungroup. We will shortly look at some of the code here. Here is the code for capturing the creation of a line. So line command extends command. Every line command will store the line object, because this is the one that needs to be removed from the model or added back to the model as we are undoing and redoing. And this remembers the number of points that have been added to the line. It will be 0, 1, or 2. When we create a line command, we add some extra things in this model, the controller and the view that are engaged in the creation of the line command. And We will go over what this UI factory is at a later point. So don't worry too much about these parameters at this point. They will become a little more clear as we look at other things. Execute, we simply add the line to the model. Abandon, we delete the command object from the stack, from the history. When a new point is received, it is either the first point or the second point. And redo means execute the command again. Undo means remove the line from the model. And here is what you do when the cursor moves, so that if it is the second point, you keep showing the partially constructed line. And to get a sense of the command class, let's now look at the copy command. I'm not going to get into the details of this. When we copy a shape, a command object for that is created. As you can see, there is an execute, redo, and undo method, so that when the copy is executed, it creates some information. And that information is stored somewhere, which can be undone or used to redo. We are not going to get into the details of this in this class, but we will just we will see later what this UI factory is for, what the controller and view are doing, etc. But we are not going to get into the nitty-gritty details of how copy paste is implemented. That is not central to the course. What is more important is the idea of a factory, the controller view pair, and how we can abstract out the details of copy, paste, drag, drop, etc., etc. Now recall how we created those swing and FX windows. We had a button. We clicked that to create an FX window. There was another button to create a swing window. When we clicked that, we got a swing window. So whenever we create a new window, whether it is swing or FX, we create a controller and a view. This controller view pair is not dependent on the technology. So they work for swing as well as FX or for any other technology. So they operate at a more logical level as opposed to the GUI technology level. And what we do is we supply the controller as well as the view with what is called an abstract factory object. We will see what this abstract factory object is now. Get a sense of it. We will see more details in a few minutes, in another video. This abstract factory object is going to have operations that will do things like drag, drop, copy, paste, render, and so on. Anything that is dependent on the technology, you can ask the abstract factory. So imagine the controller. The controller gets this abstract factory object. The controller doesn't know what technology is being supported by this abstract factory, but when the controller knows that a shape has to be copied and pasted, it tells the abstract factory to do the various steps of copy and paste. It tells the abstract factory to remember the shape in its own way and drop it, or rather paste it according to the technology's whims and fancies, right? So whether it is swing or FX, it doesn't matter to the controller. The controller gets this object, which is capable of doing swing operations or FX operations. Similarly, the view has to draw stuff, and it gets this UI factory. It can get a renderer for the corresponding technology. The view doesn't know that it is a swing object or a FX object. It simply knows that it is capable of rendering stuff. And the controller is built on top of the controller that we looked at previously. Only thing is now we have the controller extending thread so that it runs in parallel with the GUI. We still have the current command field to remember what the current command is, and every controller is associated with a single view. So the view object is maintained here, and the controller has to remember what the UI factory it is supposed to use. Maybe this is a swing factory or an FX factory. The controller doesn't know that. So when the controller is created, we supply it with the view as well as the UI factory, and they are copied here. The view, as before, is an observer of model, but now to make sure that the view is independent of the GUI technology, we have the GUI as an observer of view. So every view could have a number of would have this GUI view as an observer. Okay.